Welcome everyone to this week's edition of Conversation of American Democracy. It's good to see you all. As usual, and I again send out these notices on Sunday, and then we come to Wednesday, and it's an entirely different ballgame in our country. Things move very quickly. But let's begin. In the absence of Kurt McCauley, I'll introduce Article 3 of the Constitution. And by the way, everybody remembers Article 1 is about legislature, the powers of the legislature. And that all financial thing, all the money goes through legislature, not the executive. And Article 2 is about the executive branch that does not have the power to authorize expenditures or appropriate money. And Article 3 begins by saying the judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. The judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, shall hold their offices during good behavior. And shall at stated times receive for their services a compensation which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. So are our judges behaving good behavior? I never knew. No? And what do we do? I did not get, but I believe you can impeach federal judges. And will any of our federal judges
impeach a Supreme Court justice?
Yeah, well, that's the Supreme Court. I include them as well. Okay, at the Supreme Court, at the appellate division, and the circuit division as well. You can impeach any of them, and as we know, some of them deserve it. But will it ever happen? You can also, of course, impeach a president, and will it ever happen? That depends on us. This November 3rd. That's up to us. So, yeah, go ahead.
Why haven't we been able to stop him? I mean, if he doesn't have, the right to spend the money without congressional approval, why haven't we been able to stop him?
Because the Republican Party has given away their privilege and authority to do that to him because they're afraid of him.
Have these things even come to the floor for a vote? I don't
No,
know.
because
So that's what I'm saying. Like,
No,
it's a runaway train.
they are subservient to this creep.
Yeah,
Things can only come to the floor for a vote if the Speaker of the House allows, right?
and his lips are
Therein lies the-
very much attached to the rear end of we know who, and so he can't possibly. But it's up to Congress to enforce it, and as I've said, I've heard from others, that Congress is very constipated, and things are stuck there, and nothing will happen. And so that's why they're allowed to run wild. And that's why also ceding all the power to the Republican Party, the executive branch, the judicial, because so many of the judges are Republican and Republican aligned, and the legislature being dominated by Republicans, we have no place to turn.
I think it's only fair to mention, not that it lets them totally off the hook, but people's lives have been threatened, their families' lives have been threatened.
Yes.
Judges have been killed, they've showed up at doors, killed
Yep.
that one judge's son. So they're using, it's not just people who willingly rolled over, it's intimidation on a grand scale.
Yeah.
Very grand scale.
Like Gestapo.
Yeah, well, okay, so here's the question. Where is the intimidation coming from?
The head boss.
Okay, is it?
I've heard one theory that some of them feel threatened by MAGA Republicans, like a la January 6th, if they could do something like that, that doesn't keep them from threatening a congressperson.
Yeah, I would like to, Marla, and you don't have to raise your hand, please. Make believe you're in your living room or around your dining room table. Marla, again.
Also, their donors, they're scared of their donors, they want their money.
Yeah.
That's all they care about.
And they don't want to be primary.
Yeah, right. But I would argue, and I'm biased, but that a lot of the violence comes from the right and not from the left. And that's, okay, and we have to. And will that change if we succeed in installing the left? In the fall, I don't know. That's a good
Could be
question, Ray.
worse.
It may, and I don't know what effect the gun legislation, for example, would have on any of this. But the use of guns in these acts of violence is predominant, and anybody, just despite your mental condition, can get a gun, and it's too bad. So I'd asked on the flyer, can Vladimir Zelensky, can he be safe without a ballroom? Have to have a ballroom, and we didn't know it on Sunday, but of course we were told that the ballroom, that's sometimes called the Marie Antoinette Ballroom, let them eat cake. The ballroom was to be paid for by private donations,
Yeah.
and now the proposal is, of course, that
We're good.
that we pay for it.
You
$1
mean
billion.
just like the wall?
Well, it started off,
$1 billion.
it
That's
started
a,
off at 200 million,
Right.
then it went to 4, now it's $1 billion.
Yes.
And neither did they pay for the wall.
No.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
the wall was supposed to be paid for too. We
Yeah.
ended up with that in our pocket.
Oh,
do
that's
you,
just a deficit, because Mexico's gonna pay for it.
yeah.
But they
Check
haven't
to the
really,
mail.
they haven't really built a lot of wall.
Are
No,
you,
but they
No.
just tore down
Yeah.
a indigenous monument of some sort
yeah, that's,
to make room for the wall.
yeah, because they want to send the indigenous people back to where they came from.
Right.
There was a comment made by John Sauer, the lawyer that represents Trump in the Supreme Court, that he has to think on whether or not Native Americans have the right to birthright citizenship.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know that's it. That's why I was not joking when I say they want to send them back to, where they came from. It's a sad situation.
Well,
That's what
and they no longer care where someone came from either.
Yeah.
They'll send you to any country.
Yeah, well, that's also right. If you
Yeah.
came from El Salvador, they'll deport you to
Ethiopia.
Ethiopia, I think it was,
Yeah.
or somewhere in Africa. Once again, I think we've met the enemy, and it turns out to be us, and we need to throw some of these people out of office. There's no question. So the War Powers Act. By the way, Marco Rubio, our former senator, now Secretary of State, said the War Powers Act is unconstitutional. Okay, and therefore that allows the executive branch to wage war, and as we read in Article 1,
Plus now they finished the original war by having this pause
Yeah.
before the 60-day time limit, and now they're having the new project, they're calling it,
Yeah.
to straighten out the Strait of Hormuz. And so
That's failed already.
that
Right.
gets them out of the 60-day limit on continuing this battle.
right?
Excuse
So
me,
there's-
so, I didn't read that. Where does it says war pause 60 days, except 60 days don't count if you have a pause? It doesn't say
It
that.
doesn't say
They
that.
also gave it a new name.
Yes.
They
Conflict?
changed the name of the war.
Oh,
Yeah, it's not Epic Fury anymore. What's the
No.
new
Right,
name?
it's not about Iran. it's
Freedom.
about
Yeah.
Freedom,
Right.
Freedom Project. or something like
Right,
that.
or freedom of the seas, navigation. Yeah, so they claim.
So we don't call, if it's a war and we don't call it a war, it's not a war.
Right.
Well, remember from the beginning, he wouldn't use the word.
Yeah.
But he said
But
the
he
first
flips up
war
all the
was
time.
over.
Yeah. We won.
And
So
Yeah.
now it's a new one.
Can we go back to excursion?
Go back to excursion, okay? And
My problem with the whole thing is, as being a Navy veteran, I'm really concerned because I'm getting mixed reviews from the news media on the report of the destroyers being hit.
Yeah.
Now, I heard there was 4, now there's 1, and there's 3, and 2 could be sunk, and each destroyer is probably at least 500 sailors on each destroyer. So if they were sunk, that means 500 sailors went down, and it blows my mind that we are not being forthcoming. And that's the scary part. It's becoming a secret war.
Yeah, they're not telling the American people what's going on.
No, it's
Well,
Even
the
the
American
military
people only need to be
regulations.
told the good things about this war.
yeah,
If
yeah.
it's not video content, you
Yeah.
really don't need to know.
That's
Yeah.
that.
And what's going on still? The guys not being fed on the boats?
We still don't even know the whole story on it.
Yeah.
Really, it
Yeah.
hasn't come out yet? I'm
But
like,
the-
looking out of it a little bit.
the
so I
aircraft
don't know. I'm
carrier-
really
yeah.
asking the question, have we heard anything?
The Gerald Ford is supposed to go out on forays for 6 months at a time, and I think, and it was extended, and yeah, they ran out of.
Almost a
We ran
year.
out of
Yeah,
food.
yeah.
They ran out
Yeah.
of food.
Yeah, that's the largest aircraft carrier in the world, I think, and they didn't have enough supplies. They weren't supposed to. It's, again, the people making these decisions, I believe, are unencumbered by the thought process.
Except them send a supply ship to them?
I don't know that they can supply.
Well, you
I don't
have
know
to
enough
think
about
of
that.
that.
Let's talk about the military
That's
people
the
here. I don't
problem.
know. They can resupply?
Does anybody currently know if the strait is open or closed? Because
From what I've seen.
every morning I hear, he says it's open because they're negotiating. 10 minutes later I hear there's no negotiations and it's closed.
And they're firing on boats.
And they're firing on commercial shipping. So are we in, out? What? Does anybody?
Does anybody?
Well,
I would claim that your problem is that you believe Donald Trump and his minions.
Oh,
Okay.
there was a survey on that.
so I subtract that from my equation. That might give me a correct
Exactly.
answer.
And the sad part is, so who do we have to listen to?
Iran?
I think you get more truth out of the news media, the so-called news media from Iran,
Independent.
and you do,
Well,
yeah.
Listen to BBC. A lot of
I-
times you get
yeah.
some accurate stuff from them.
Yeah.
Midas touch.
Oh,
Midas
yeah,
touch.
Midas
Yeah,
touch.
right. Good point.
Now they've expanded to Canada, did you know?
Yes, they have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the survey was done on it, was 50%, 57% of Americans believe Iran news before our news.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And we watch the
Amazing.
national too.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Yeah, you don't know who to believe, and of course, I believe, of course, that the administration can't admit failure, so that they think that they control the Straits of Hormuz. So if they stop a blockade, it's over. But the truth of the matter is, they're losers. Our side is losers, and Iran has won. And Iran controls the Straits of Hormuz, and they decide whether it's open. But can Trump and the administration, Republicans, accept that fact? I tend
So
to
are
think
we
that.
looking at the current president presiding over the first incursion war conflict that the U.S. is going to lose?
I want to did we win in Vietnam?
Draw. We call that a draw.
We
We
did-
didn't-
did we-
I
They're
don't.
playing the same here, if
I
not a
did-
flat out win.
Yeah, it's not a flat win.
That's what he'll call it.
I think,
Oh, you talking about his determination? Oh,
Yeah.
I think Trump did a post on his social truth media, and he was showing 5 Uno cards. Well, if anybody knows how to play Uno,
Yeah.
if you hold cards, you're not a winner.
Yeah.
And he was holding 5 of them.
Not that.
Okay,
Not that.
you're not winning.
Not that smart. Not that-
Well, unfortunately for Trump, Iran holds more cards than he does.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I'm
he
saying
doesn't.
he was holding 5 Uno
cards.
cards.
And even Ukraine is that you have no more cards. Ukraine,
Yeah, it sounds like
Ukraine's
Ukraine's got a lot of cards.
Ukraine's doing just fine. Ukraine has been,
Yeah.
and much of it without our backing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Therefore,
Yeah, but the European countries stepped up.
exactly. And don't forget now Canada.
All right.
Okay, Canada is supporting Ukraine.
And Japan.
And our country, which was supposed to be made great, is now third string or playing minor league or AAA ball or whatever. You know,
We need
that's,
the money for the program.
yeah, you know what? Exactly. I mean, that's the
But
important
I've
stuff,
heard that
right?
even Ukraine is selling drones to other countries.
Yeah, exactly.
Got a whole business going
Exactly.
into
And
the finance.
yep.
And you gotta remember, we passed that, over 100% mark for the GDP.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For the last time we did that
Absolutely,
in World War II.
yeah.
so.
Let's take a step down to our state legislature and how our state legislature, I would call it a step up. But again, I think the highest one is our local government is much more important. So at the special session, it was withdrawn the last minute, but there was a proposal for a bill to require PTOs public school parent-teacher organizations to budget and issue profit and loss statements on all of their fundraisers and so on. Does that sound like a good idea? Not a good idea? Because
When
it will
what
surely
fundraiser?
come up again. What?
What fundraisers? Fundraisers?
Anything they do.
A bake sale,
But who's gonna monitor that? Like, who's in
Well, that's-
charge of that?
yeah.
The school board bookkeeper, according to the school board meeting I went to, and it's ridiculous on every level because that's minutia. And secondly, it's difficult to get anyone to participate in the parent-teacher organization anyway, and to get anyone to step up and be an officer is even harder. And you put that kind of requirement on it, no one's going to take
No
the
one will
treasure.
do anything.
Yeah.
That'll be the end of it. Is that the
Yeah.
point?
And
Is
what
the
do they
point
bring
to
in?
Well-
expand the
$100?
PTO?
So stand in their budget with zero.
Yeah, and the question is, at the point, do they really want to put public schools out of business?
Yeah.
Yes.
And in fact, that's the next item I have, and I had totally arbitrarily on a list. We directly, our tax dollars that support our schools, $19 million has to go from the field of public education. Kathy might be able to talk about this better, to underwrite private schools and the kids that go to them and so on. So that's costing us, and why? Because our enrollment is diminished. And why is our enrollment down? Because we're paying kids to go to private schools. And by the way, those private schools don't have the kind of oversight that public schools have, and private schools can hire, we were told actually at the, is that Tulip? Is
Was a
that?
lawsuit filed? I was reading something yesterday about
Yes,
a
the
lawsuit.
Florida Education Association, or
Yeah.
Educators Association.
Yeah.
Filed a lawsuit
Yeah.
because they have to prove that they're actually getting a legitimate education or something to that.
And we
Well-
heard that today.
Yeah.
Well, but
Yeah.
I think the basis of their lawsuit might be that the Florida Constitution
Yes, guarantees, you quote that all the time.
All the time, that the state is responsible for just one uniform system of free public education that is,
Uniform
provides
is a
excellent,
missing
and
dynamic
excellent, and
there.
so on, and not all these other schemes, but
So that
one.
makes the state violating their own constitution right there.
Yeah,
They
and,
That's what they're
do
saying
that
in the
every day
lawsuit.
too.
and how is it that they get away with that?
Not
Yeah.
to mention.
Because they're all Republicans and they all fall in the line.
Yeah.
and
Not
it's-
even to mention the corruptness of people who are taking vouchers.
Okay, so what's that? By the way, so our state chief financial officer, is that Ingoglio or something, is going around to different counties and finding that, but in the meantime, $400 million is missing because kids took vouchers to go to private schools and
They
then
go to public.
kept the money and they showed up in the public schools.
So it costs the public
Wow.
schools more to support that child.
Yep.
And the parents have pocketed the money.
No, often the private school they've already paid the private school. The money goes to the private school, so it's
What's
not
the point?
necessarily the parents.
So-
But the point is that there's no oversight.
Right, that's it.
No-
That's the bottom
no
line. There was
oversight.
no, we
Yeah.
gave out money hoping that you would, in good faith, take that money, use that money for your child's education, but we have nothing to guarantee that you do.
Well,
Nobody's following the
can't they
money.
tell that child that, no, this is your school, not here?
They need to put that kind of system in place. Nobody ever thought,
Well, Flagler has someone who's
Yeah,
trying to
right.
track all that
Right.
down. And a
what
state
do you-
auditor was able to look at all this money that was unaccountable. I mean, some of it's fully accountable. We know exactly where many of the students went. But some of it has these loopholes. So the auditor put together a list of things that needed to be fixed to close some of these loopholes, hands it off to the legislature in the regular session. The Senate created a bill, passed it unanimously, and the House wouldn't even take it up.
Wow.
Kathy, I have a question
Mm-hmm.
for you. When I was at the last forum, it was mentioned about this run around, this money going around. And I also was listening very carefully, and they said that we lost our grade for our schools from an A to a B. Is that because in the last 10 years we've gone to this system and the public schools are actually losing the ability to actually get that A back? I heard they're going to try to get the A grade back, but
If you're going back a little bit further than I've really looked into, I believe they were an A at one time, but I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
guarantee that. They would have been an A this past year,
Mhm.
except they're required to factor in the charter schools,
Okay.
right? And this
Right.
charter school dropped one letter and it was enough to throw the district off.
oh, so they're subject.
Yes, and they have
Yes.
no control over them.
Wow.
But they have to eat their
I
score.
didn't, well, I'm glad I asked that question.
Now, Kathy and I went to lunch with a school board member who pointed out that charter school, Imagine School, is noteworthy for hiring all the teachers who are fired from the public schools. And they're staffed with teachers who
Yeah,
couldn't make it in
they're
the
not
vote.
required to have
Yeah.
the same certifications that Florida school teachers have to have in order to get employed.
Yet, on the issue of accountability, that's charter schools. Private schools do not have to have teachers who have high school diplomas.
They don't have-
What? Wait a minute.
In
Yeah,
Mississippi, they have a
the
particular-
teacher-
No,
that
but
because it's
you
in
said
place.
charter or private? school?
Private. Charter are government school, our schools.
Okay.
Government school's a bad name. But private schools can decide, have no oversight whatsoever. And in fact, the legislation says we are not going to interfere with what's taught or how it's taught or anything related to the private schools that receive ultimately this voucher money. So that
So a private school equal religious schools?
80
Can be, but isn't automatic.
Yeah, 81% of them, if you go to the scholarship granting organization is called Step Up for Students. That's the big one. There are some smaller ones, but most of the voucher money comes from Step Up for Students. And Step Up for Students will give you an accounting. In fact, put in your zip code, and it will tell you what schools are receiving voucher money through them in your different locale. And yes, most of them are Christian schools, and they, by the way, have to provide statistics from time to time. 81% of all the money in the state goes to private religious schools.
So these schools that don't have to meet standards,
Right.
they shouldn't be allowed to accept vouchers.
I agree.
Yeah, but it's specific legislation, legislation specifically states that we can't interfere with the qualifications of the teachers or anything
part
else.
of separation
By the
of
way,
church and
the
state?
money out,
How
you
should
should
we
be
make
able to
away with that?
require.
Is that part of separation of
So
church?
I think our
no,
first
that, by the
fight
way,
to take on
that is destroying the
is
wall of
about
separation
the
of church and
money.
state.
The schools exist, the program exists, it's Florida law, we can't fight that right now. But as taxpayers, what do we expect from our county government, from our city government, from all government? We're paying tax dollars, we expect accountability and visibility, and we don't have either. So we don't even know how the money's being spent, and when the public schools get the funding for that student, that includes funding for transportation and funding for food. In most cases, the private schools don't provide food or transportation. So how come they get to take that portion? And if I have to run a bus down this street, and last year I was picking up 22 kids on the street, and this year I pick up 12, do you think the cost of running the bus down the street went down at all? No, it went up. It actually went up with the price of gas. They said they had to raise their budget like $350 million, I think it was.
Gas.
Yeah, for the gas. I take that, 350,000.
Oh, sure.
Got
That's an
confused.
awful lot of
Yeah,
gas.
the postal service loses $1 million every time it goes up a penny. Got those crossed. But yeah, so there's a lot of issues, and then we have no idea how that money's being spent. And as taxpayers, and Meryl's the one that pointed out the fact that only 22% of the households in Flagler County have school-age students. So the rest of us have a say in this too, because we're paying school dollars, school taxes as well, and we should be able to see how our money's being spent, and we can't.
How are these graduates from these private schools faring in the world?
By the way, they're not subject to standardized testing.
Right,
yeah.
And we don't know, but we suspect not so well, that they don't get.
It's the dumbing down of America.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and once again, and the issue is that Kathy brings us to the point where we have to recognize that parents have rights, but they only pay perhaps 22% of the cost of our schools. We, the people, have rights, and we're paying 78% of the cost of that school. And once again, parents, if you survey them, you've heard me say this over and over again, 76% of them will say that they are opposed to the use and the teaching of Arabic numerals in our
Yeah.
schools. Okay, they just don't know.
Arabic
They don't know.
numerals.
And I'll repeat now, so we go to private schools, and we've talked about this as well. Private schools are not governed by, particularly the religious schools, do not have to, they can refuse to hire a gay person as a teacher.
Because
They can
of-
They can
because of
refuse
their
to take
religious-
students of gay parents.
Yeah, that's right. They-
But then, again, I go back to, are they leaning on the separation of church and state at that point? Like, you know, this is a religious school, so you can't tell me what to do? Is that what they're meaning?
Yeah, right, exactly. So you can give your money and pay for the school, but you can't tell it interfere with our religious,
Right.
you know.
That's
So if we
so
want to talk,
bizarre.
the gays are the work of the devil and are all horrible and awful people, you cannot interfere with our teaching.
That's bizarre.
Because that's our religious doctrine. And that holds not only for religious schools, I don't know how to pretend. Clearwater, I forgot, the Clearwater Academy teaches Scientology.
Yes.
Oh.
So we're paying for Scientology education. By the way, the Mormons in the state are paying taxes to fund Baptist schools that teach that Mormons aren't Christians.
Wow.
The Catholics, who, by the way, they have an office to reap as much government money as possible, but the Catholics are paying to support Seventh-day Adventist schools that teach that the Pope is the Antichrist. Okay? And I pay to support Presbyterian schools.
That it was Trump who was the
That's, if they taught that, we wouldn't have such big objections, I suspect. So that we are forced to teach things that are antithetical to what we believe. Okay? And I've
And
quote-
part of the reason why we can't do any standardized testing on these students is Meryl's also filled
Yeah.
in on the fact that some of them are teaching that the world is 6,000 years old.
Well, yeah.
You know, so if these students leave Florida to go to college, they're going to have to take some remedial
Absolutely. And
courses.
by the way, and if you look at college courses, more and more have remedial math courses and other remedial courses because kids are not coming to college as prepared. And I've quoted again Leslie Postal, Postal, is the one of the two education reporters for the Orlando Sentinel. Went looking to interview a principal of a private school that was getting a lot of voucher money in the Pine Lake section of Orlando. Should you need to know, and couldn't get hold of him. Finally, she reached secretary or something and said, "Oh, he's not here right now. He's taking courses at Valencia." I don't know whether it was then Community College or Valencia College. And Leslie Postal said, "Oh, you know, what's he studying?" He says, "He's working towards his AA degree." That is it. You can be the principal of a school and not have an associate's degree. And so
I can't
there
either.
is
I
no
can't either.
oversight. There's no oversight. The fire department has more, wants to make sure, and the health department wants to make sure there's a working toilet and so on. But educationally, our money is going out the window. So our student count here in the public school systems of Flagler County is going down because we're paying to send kids to those kinds of schools.
We're creating Trump
Can-
voters.
Yeah, by the way, yeah.
Can you believe that we're going down this rabbit hole?
Yep.
I mean, think about this. I mean, I understand people that are retired complain about paying school taxes, but now we created other entities on top of this with no accountability, and I don't know why the public is not getting behind this to stop
not
this
even realize
madness.
what's going on.
Pay attention.
Because you're not being told.
It's just
Yeah,
You're not being told.
No, not being told.
The dumbing down of America.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
exactly what it is. Like
If I teach you that you're good enough and you're happy enough and what you got is all you need, then I never have to do anything more for you.
No.
And then there's the recorded Trump saying smart people don't like me.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Wait,
Yeah.
the cost is gonna.
Everybody in the room raise their hand for that.
Yeah.
This cost is going up and up on the other entity that's creating a new entity. And this area is not gonna be able to absorb this cost as a retirement community. Leave alone trying to get good jobs here and then pay for that.
Yeah.
It's just not gonna be able to function. It's just, it's
Yeah, so
gonna.
if you wanna come and move to Flagler County, just apply to be a school teacher, doesn't matter what your education is.
Well,
No, I-
right, in a private
I was
school,
going to say,
right?
the public schools. you
Public
still have
schools,
to
and that's,
have a degree
you
to
know,
be certified.
I say, oh, we have to protect homeschooling people, and homeschooling parents teach their kids, and many of those parents have no college education, are not at all qualified. If you think about what a public school teacher is, they graduated with a degree, and in some cases advanced degree, had to sit and take tests to be certified, to be licensed by the state. They have in-service thing, they are supervised and so on. Then we get to private schools and homeschooling, and there's no nothing at all. And it's as if you went to a dentist to have a dentist drill in your teeth, who dropped out of dental school and wasn't certified.
And the irony is that parents just are accepting this.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't know any better.
They don't know any better.
And that's
They're
what,
being told that
Everything's.
everything's fine.
Well, they sold the voucher program by saying this will allow poor children to take advantage of private school, which they couldn't before. And in many cases, that's not true, because the voucher isn't enough to cover the full tuition, and the family doesn't have the money to pay the difference. Now, maybe some places offer some scholarships at the big ones, but by and large, the story they were sold is a
Yeah,
lie.
but the voucher helps the wealthy people
exactly.
Yeah.
reduce the cost of their child going there.
Yes.
Right.
And
Which-
keeps,
and-
and keeps them segregated from the poor kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like the ballroom.
Yeah.
Very good. Very
Well,
good.
you
I
know,
don't know if it's about segregation so much. I went to private school my whole life, and a family of 7 kids that all went to private school. And they were 2 middle-class parents raising us, so, and they put it all out of their own pocket the entire time.
Did you go?
So-
Was that New York?
Yes, in
Did
New
you
York.
did you have to take
But-
did you have to take Regents exams?
Excuse me, say again?
Did you have to take Regents exams?
Oh, yes, we had to pass
So-
the
that
Regents.
was
We
it?
couldn't get out
Okay.
of school without passing the Regents exam.
we were
We
able-
would have had our head handed to us by the nuns. But really, we went through the whole, and without any help from anybody. Later on, not giving my age away, but later on, they did come up with some if you had so many kids in your family, the later ones got scholarship, so they were helped along, to keep the whole family in going through the school system.
Yeah.
But that wasn't when I was growing up, and they were barely making it, with 2-income household, because of the fact that they were paying so much in tuition. So there wasn't actually a rich kid, poor kid kind of thing. It was really more like poor kid, stretching to accommodate with what everybody else had.
I'll elaborate on that though. On the other side of that coin, the growth of the private school can directly be pointed back to when integration started in schools in the South.
Absolutely.
Yeah, different.
When
They were in the-
when you were in the South and integration started, there were a lot of parents that says, I refuse to have my child sit next to somebody of a different race, color, creed, when I can have a private school that educates them and gives them a better education.
Or a separate education.
Or a separate education. Because in the South, the mixing of races was still the law, still a violation in the law.
So
Even
racist-
though the federal government said, no, you have to integrate, they said, okay, we'll integrate. But you can't stop me from having a school. What was it? Separate but equal.
Yeah.
So
that's-
How many of you know which county in Florida was the last one to?
Let me guess.
So
The language in which
last
one?
one
To
to-
integrate the
And
schools.
to
to have a
another
separate-
This county
Kathy?
was the very last one.
It has to be
Really?
a
And-
school of the building that's been
and-
all like
I know,
My
back.
mother did
high
all
school.
that.
And the other thing, what people didn't notice though, speaking to what you were saying, the people that had money could send their kids to private school, went to private school. The lower income, regardless of race, were in public schools.
That's
So,
down here,
so
but
once
that
again, we
doesn't
started a
apply.
divide
Yeah.
Well,
economically.
Right, and back, I think when public started, private stuff, it was public, and then there was private,
Private,
was
yes.
very expensive, very well educated.
Yes.
You had the money.
Tons of resources.
Yes.
Tons of
Yes.
resources.
Very special.
Now, there's still those, and there's still public schools, but there's a lot of in between.
Between, yes,
You hear they're trying to bring back segregation.
well, of
Yeah.
course.
Well, that's
It never
what's-
went away.
Well, yeah, but I mean legally.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court just
Yeah.
made it to where you can actually segregate your business if you want to. And there's no recourse because the federal government stands behind you.
Well, because according to the latest Supreme Court ruling, racism and racism has ended. There is no
Like the war in Iran.
that was the basis of their
Alito's thing.
yeah, that was the basis of Alito's argument that the
No longer
voters'
necessary.
rights
No longer necessary.
no longer necessary because racism
Yeah,
was over. I didn't get the
I didn't
brief,
either.
So just
but
suppose
racism's
you
over.
forget about-
Yeah.
The Supreme Court has been dumbed down as well.
You know that.
No
So
question
we're
about
supposed
that.
to forget about everything that was done in the sixties. All those people, including, you know, my mom and all those people that are famous, that we all know, who sacrificed so much to get this done, and I'm so proud of it, and boom, they blow it up.
Literally all the effort done for civil rights to get the right to vote was just scratched.
Well,
And the right to an equal education.
not to
Because the
mention,
parents can willy-nilly pull their kids out of public school based on their belief system, doesn't necessarily mean that these kids going through school believe what their parents believe. I mean, we just did an interview with the young lady who was going through all that.
not to
and
mention
she's-
women's rights.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
it's
I
like,
mean, they're taking away our rights.
yes,
One by one by
yeah,
one.
everything, they're blowing up everything, a fox in every hen house.
Oh, I was gonna say with the Voting Rights Act,
Mhm.
kind of the reason he was saying that there is no racism, it's proving, is because the Voting Act
Yes,
worked.
worked. So
Now you take it away, it's gonna go back down.
I mixed up. How did I hear it on Jon Stewart? Okay, I'm using an umbrella in the rain to stay dry. Now that I'm dry, I'll just throw away the umbrella,
Yeah. And it'll be fine.
even though I'm still standing in the rain.
And the crazy part, you know, labor's getting destroyed, everything's getting destroyed that we worked so hard to get where we are today. And I still hear people telling me that at a national level, this is the greatest president we have ever had. I don't know what world they live in, but I
They listen to Fox
Right.
News.
Yeah, they listen to Fox News.
24 hours a day.
Fox, Newsmax, OAN,
Yeah, on
they have
Newsmax,
plenty of.
But absolutely, absolutely.
Reinforcement thinking.
And they're vilifying Democrats at the same time, and
Oh,
telling
yeah.
that we're all.
Oh, haven't you
that
heard
we're-
Trump has changed, he's completely different now, he's
Yeah,
a very
yeah.
nice man
He's a
now.
nice man, he's lovely, and so on.
That's what my
Epstein.
brother just told me.
Right, and by the way, you know,
Epstein.
For the Epstein?
the whole question of the war in Iran has had to distract from the Epstein files, and who knows, will we ever see it? By the way, just I used the idea of regents are exams that every New York high school student has to take. So private school or public school, so we have some idea of how the private school compares with the public school.
Is that like an SAT?
Yeah, SAT that was optional,
Periodic
but to
exams
graduate,
that
I think to graduate, did you
Yes,
need to
it's
pass the
very
regents?
subject driven. Like
Yeah.
you take it in Spanish, you take it in math, you take it in English, separate tests, you know, but
Every-
you have to pass them.
As you graduate high school or every
third
grade?
year.
High school.
Yeah,
They're-
third
they're-
year.
but
You
they're
take it in the third year.
in the third year. Okay.
Third year of every grade?
Yeah, ask
Third year of
Kathy's
high
a New
school.
Yorker. Yeah,
Third
ask
year of
her.
high
Yeah.
school. And for us, if you didn't pass your
Seventh grade
regents,
for-
you know, because our tests were harder than the regents.
Yeah.
So if you passing your regents was like, you know, I got the accreditation, but getting out of school was even harder than that because, you know, the way they frame you know, these nuns don't play. You know what I mean? It was way harder.
But the issue is we had some means by which to measure the private schools as opposed to the public schools. We no longer have that. By the way,
They don't have
in this,
regents anymore?
no, they're not here in Florida. Okay, and we do not have a nationally normed test either, so we
That
can't
makes no
compare
sense.
Florida's public education to Georgia's education, public education, or Mississippi
makes
or New
Florida
York,
doesn't do
so-
SATs? Because don't you?
no, again,
do
SAT, you decide whether or not you want to take the SATs.
Okay.
So who chooses to take the SATs? So the upper echelon, once again, and people who are not going to colleges don't take the SATs, and so you can't tell. So since you self-select The SATs are not a good gauge. Regents and other states have Stanford Binet and so other tests that everybody takes. So we can make a broad measurement and speak authoritatively about whether this school is doing well or this school is not doing well.
And Florida doesn't do it.
Florida does not do that.
In Florida,
Okay. By the way, so Florida has its own tests now. Go look at the major testing companies, I've forgotten their names, and you're going to find out that many of the leaders and executives of those, and in fact even the National Organization of the Imagine School is part of, since it's run out of Chicago, employ the spouses of Florida state legislators.
That's convenient.
Okay, so that's so they get the state to, and that's, I thought you were going, does the education of kids in public schools in Flagler County depend on our school board? They are handcuffed by the state. The same with, there are all sorts, local government doesn't have much say because Tallahassee is going to make that
Taking
determination.
home rule away.
Yeah, exactly. And the question, of who gets to go to the bathroom in Flagler and Palm Coast High School is decided in Tallahassee. And the same rule applies in Flagler County as in Miami-Dade, for example.
Flagler's minimum wage is going up. I don't know if you've seen it. I believe the bill did pass. So as it was going to go up, they were going to submit a bill for a waiver. So if you came to an employer, he would hire it. You sign the waiver, and you would tell that waiver would allow the employer to pay you less than the minimum wage. And that-
What?
What's the point of a minimum wage if you
Yeah,
actually have to pay?
so-
So minimum wage
minimum
option?
wage in Florida doesn't
Maybe.
mean minimum wage.
Yeah, you get it exactly.
There's a waiver
How
now.
is it minimum wage of top?
Yeah,
I don't-
so there's a waiver they could, so the employers could give the child, your son to go, work in the McDonald's, whatever, and
Yep.
then say, hey, sign this waiver and we'll hire you.
Well, I was aware of that one because they were talking about, it's kind of like an apprentice program
Yeah.
at McDonald's.
Yeah.
I mean, really?
That's just
Yeah, you need to.
They just want to pay less,
You need to
you
learn
know,
how, yeah,
keep
exactly,
more
that's
profit.
just about it.
Well, back in the day, McDonald's qualified as a restaurant. So when I worked there when I was 17, I got paid just a few dollars an hour because they didn't have to pay me minimum wage because it was a restaurant, but
You don't
you
give
can't
tips.
accept tips.
They don't give tips.
Oh,
right.
When have they ever given tips?
They haven't.
I got tips all the time.
Did you- at McDonald's?
I
Yeah.
had to put them in my register
Okay.
because we had no pockets anywhere anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And besides, it was against our rules. And so they kept saying, why is your drawer over? I said, just take it. Some guy tipped me and he wouldn't take it back. And what am I gonna do? I can't keep it. It's yours. And they'd be like, oh, cool.
Yep.
Put it in their pockets.
Let's move on. I had intended to do this, and it's wonderful to see our discussion meander all over the place and cover lots of territory. The question has arisen, should the Palm Coast City Council do business with organizations that lie, cheat, dissemble, are dishonest, untrustworthy, or
Well, if
should
they
they
have
do it?
anything to do with the state government or the federal government, don't worry.
I was about to say,
Now, wait a minute. But our city council does those things.
Yeah.
So they hit hand in hand.
Well, okay. So should they do business with Rainier, who owns
No,
40,000
Of course
acres
not.
in the western part of the county? This is
No.
Mark's.
of course not.
Yeah.
Okay, but well, all right. Let's talk about the lies that were told by Rainier and
But we have no
misrepresentations
say-so in
and the
any of
dishonesty.
this. You and I have no say-so in any of this.
Even if you go to a city council meeting and have your say, they don't pay any attention to us.
Of course not.
Yeah.
They
It's
want
bigger
their
than
money.
that.
Yeah.
SB 180 and other bills have been passed to allow developers of larger projects, 2,000 acres and bigger, to move forward with zero approval
Oversight.
by the local cities and counties at all. And you hear our own city council and our own county commissioners defending the citizens, defending themselves because citizens are coming in complaining when they have no authority over doing these, like the Westford expansion. Residents of Palm Coast and Flagler County will not have a meaningful say in the development of that large project.
In that case, we should never give them the
Because-
infrastructure that they need.
Because the state has said this out loud. The elected officials in Palm Coast and Flagler County, as an example, are not competent enough to understand what is best for the direction of you, the citizens of Florida. And that is their justification on why they are removing aggressively home rule assistance. Because, for example, if the Flagler County and the citizens here decided they didn't want westward expansion, that would not benefit the state's long-term plan of growth and progress. And that's what was in a lot of the demonstrations, the placards that they had up, was showing how this is going to benefit. So the state is pretty much telling us, just get out of their way, they're moving forward. And the city elected officials know that. And that is why they don't address or worry or deal with the Rainiers and the other large developers, because they know they don't have a say in it presently.
Teresa Pontieri actually said
There's the
during
one.
a meeting that we don't want to get sued. So we can't do anything about
But
this.
also, what is this trash you just brought me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
It
love
was
that.
117 pages of garbage, I
Yeah,
think she said.
garbage, yeah.
And-
But you know.
So wait, explain what the garbage or the trash is for a second.
Yeah, there was an 10-year-old presentation made that was passed and everything with certain criteria that they were gonna pay for infrastructure and all of the other things regarding education
A sports
and,
complex.
and emergency services.
Yeah, and-
And then now all of a sudden it comes back, the project is double the size and they're not paying for any of that. So she's just saying, what the what? What happened here in between? And what are you bringing me? This is not what we agreed to. And I wanted to jump up and cheer. Because
No.
the first time she said it was like, I don't know, 2 years ago maybe, when she looked at it. And then we never heard another thing about it until just recently. All of a sudden it's back up in the papers and there was a presentation, we all talked about that already. But none of it makes sense. Like, were they just holding off waiting because they knew this thing was in the works with the state? You know, these people are all surrounded by lobbyists working in their behalf to make sure that it paves the way for them to go through.
I
But,
think,
and I wanna know who's gonna pay for all this in the end. I mean, if the state has control, then it has to be only state taxes and not city taxes and not county taxes, because we're not responsible, only the state is responsible. No taxation without representation. So why the hell are we paying for it? That's what I wanna know.
Amen.
Well,
my view on
Why
it,
don't you run for city council?
my view on it
Why?
is, we have a budget, okay? At county level, you have budgets at municipality levels. And
State
if the Westfield
legislature,
expansion
state
doesn't want to
budget,
go in, then they have to pay for it. As far as I'm concerned, I will not approve any more taxes. And that being said, we won't have it in the budget to do any more expansion. And we do have a lot of other shortfalls that we haven't even paid for. We have 140 miles of unpaved road on District 4. So we need to take care of those punch lines first before anybody comes in here and says, this is my West Stream, but you're gonna pay for it. No, as an official, I'm gonna be voting no and saying, we don't have it in the budget, and that's the only thing they can stand on. If we don't have the money to pay for it, and we don't approve the money to pay for it, they're at a standstill. But the thing is, they're gonna use that language to make it sound like our arms are struck, like Teresa's saying we'll be sued. Let them sue us. Let's take this to Discovery, and Discovery's gonna show we don't have the money. So how can you pay for it?
Plus Discovery will show that they promised to do that.
Yes, yes.
Another thing too, that property, Westward Expansion, does not belong to Palm Coast. If Palm Coast refuses to annex it, they're gonna have to pay for their own police and fire.
No, it
Water
goes to the
treatment?
county,
Well,
because it's in the county.
right, yeah, but,
Yeah.
but
The county's
Palm Coast
required-
doesn't have to be
Sheriff-
responsible.
Sheriff Staley will get
It's
his, get 38 extra
non-incorporated
deputies.
Yeah.
Right.
county.
So right now, it's gonna go to the county, and then probably 5 years after we complete it, then it'll go annexed to the city,
Yeah.
okay?
See-
It's another gift to the city, okay, in my opinion, okay, at the county cost. Now, granted, we all do pay county taxes, that's one thing we have to agree on. But the thing is, they are in the same sandbox together. They act like they're actually separate, but they're not.
That's
They're
Susanna
playing
Pavel.
Yeah.
You need to know her. I'm going to ask a question about her position, but go. No, go ahead. I have a quiz for everybody. Okay, so since these questions are often decided in Tallahassee, who represents us in Tallahassee? Who is the state senator that represents us in the Senate of the state of Florida? If you, by the way, if you know his name, raise your hand. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, his name is Tom Leek. Okay, and by the way, he's not up for election this fall. Who represents us in this Tallahassee in the House of Representatives? Raise your hand if you know who it is. Okay, who is it? Sam Greco, and that Susanna Pavel is running against him. So these people, they make the decision on the state level, and often, and we're relatively tuned in, think about the average person walking in the street who has no idea that Florida even has a House of Representatives or a state Senate. And that's why we need to pay attention to these state elections as well, and you need to know that. So,
And what was her name?
Susanna Pavel,
Okay.
and she was here last week, but she was a featured guest and so on, and you should get to know her. Now she is, Kathy, we need an advertisement for your event.
Saturday?
Yeah.
Yes, at the community center on Saturday, they're doing a Women on the Ballot. So Angie Nixon, although she will only be able to join in virtually, she'll be first, and then it will be Suzanne Pavel, and then
Angie Nixon is running for,
Senate to
Okay.
represent Florida.
okay, the U.S. Senate.
U.S. Senate, yes. And then Dee Gallery's running for city council. I can't remember what district, is it over on the wall?
Four.
There you go. And I'm running for school board.
Okay. So, by the way, since we raised the issue of she's running for Senate, who are our current senators? Do you know the names of the two senators? Okay, Ashley Moody and Ashley Moody is up for election since she took Marco Rubio's place. And that was Rubio? Yeah. Rick Scott, by the way, has now claimed that 75% of all the murders in Fairfax County, Virginia, are done by illegal immigrants. It's not true, but why does the truth matter to somebody who built Medicare out of $365
How is it a
million?
specialist in
Scott's
Virginia?
mouth is not
Yeah, exactly. Just like Trump, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. And our other senator is Ashley Moody, who was the state attorney general and was appointed to fill Rubio's seat when Rubio became Secretary of State. And so she's never stood for election, but Nixon and who else is running against it? Yes, thank you. Alex Vindman of Trump's phone call to Ukraine fame and so on. So we need to pay attention to, and we can turn out Ashley Moody. The future I want to emphasize, and you can argue with me about this, but the future of women's reproductive rights depends on our getting rid of Ashley Moody. Because it is likely that Supreme Court justices will retire in the next several years, particularly Alito and Clarence Thomas, and a new nominee will come. If there's a Republican Senate, Trump will no matter what, Trump will nominate a person who's against women's reproductive rights. Will the Senate approve them? If the Senate has a majority of Republicans, yes. So we need to make sure that do our part to make sure that the Senate is not predominantly Republican, but that we have a Democratic majority. And one of the ways to do that is to get rid of Ashley Moody. You know that there's a lot of pressure on John Fetterman in Pennsylvania to switch parties. By the way he's voting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened to that screwball Hedden is when he had the stroke? He was a good man.
He was wearing a hoodie to Congress before he had the stroke. Well, he wasn't in Congress before he had the stroke, but he's a bit of a nutcase on the one hand. On the other hand, he's been a Democrat and was a Democrat and was a good Democrat. So we need to note locally. And in fact, and we'll wind up in just a minute, but I happen to have double checked, and I live in precinct 508 here in Flagler County. How many of you know what precinct you live in? So when we do, when we do introductions next week, and you can say pass, when we do internet, so come sit around these tables, we ask for your name and what precinct you're in, so that we all know our precinct. Because in the end,
It's on the voting card.
yeah, it's on your voter's card. By the way, you can go to the supervisor, Flagler County Supervisor of Elections website and get my voter information, and it will have all that there. But you ought to check anyway, since there's going to be a purge of voter
Right,
rolls,
right.
and you ought to keep making sure you're there, and that you're signed up for mail-in ballots.
And that
As,
women need their passport.
yeah, you know, right,
Yeah.
yeah, if your name is,
name.
if you took your husband's name when you got married, as most do, you'll need to prove that as well. So that's how we begin, because in the end, all you have to do is defeat Ashley Moody in your own precinct, in your own neighborhood. And the history of Flagler County is there's been a long time since we have a precinct that voted blue. Okay, a long time. All we got to do, yeah, right. Actually, Obama did not do as well in his sectional election. In 2008, yeah, in 2008 he won, but in 2012 he lost in this county. And so we need to turn precinct blue, your own neighborhood. You don't have to worry about the national picture.
But you know, in reality, Flagler County, if the Democrats in force would go out and vote, because there's a lot of Republicans that don't vote.
Right.
Trouble is, there's more Democrats that don't vote than Republicans.
That's right.
And so
If they get out and
yeah.
vote, we can win.
We are losing in registrations, but turnout, if we can get people to turn out to the elections.
Well, and then the no party affiliation,
yeah,
people
yeah.
that are pissed off at both sides. or
Yeah,
whatever.
but Jan Sullivan has mentioned that there are a lot of Democrat-adjacent, Democrat-leaning NPAs, no party affiliation, and I thought they were all Republicans who were disaffected with the Republican Party, but we can get them out as well. We can win, but turn out, and particularly amongst those who have no idea that there's an election in August.
I have a question for our two candidates
Yeah,
out here,
pretty,
if you don't mind. Since the petition end of things is done for both of you, how can we help you move forward? What's next?
For me, I have to register for the end of the month, and I have some other paperwork I got to do. I got to show my taxes and all this other stuff, and then I will officially be on. I met the requirement for the petitions, but there's a couple other steps I got to do.
Okay.
So I was lucky. I stopped in on Monday to talk to her, and she said, "Yeah, it's in your handbook."
It's in the
So I'll
book we
have to-
gave you on day one.
Say again?
It's in the book we gave you the first day you came.
I know.
When
I see-
everyone and their brother was handing you paper.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, because you get off track, you know,
Yeah.
and the handbook is a good handbook.
It
It's
is.
just, it's just that you forget about the handbook.
Yeah,
And,
right, yeah, keep
so I
it-
was glad I stopped in Monday after the commissioner meeting, which was very frustrating because they spent 2 hours trying to decide how to interview and elect the new county manager. And I was sitting there for 2 hours saying to myself, is this the first time we're developing the
done
wheel
it.
to hire?
Yeah.
I mean, 2 hours of a process to hire somebody just blew my mind. Which meanwhile, we have other county issues. Like right now, we have Fowler Beach. Half the department has resigned.
Yeah.
Okay?
Is
So-
there gonna be an expose about that?
So-
Because, like, what happened
So
there?
I'm pushing buttons,
still don't know.
okay? So I talked to the chief for the county, and he told me they haven't come to him, and I addressed him, and I said to him, don't wait. You go to them, because everybody's going like this.
Yeah.
It's your fault. You need to push the envelope, and if the county needs to take that over, we need to take it over, because the thing is, as a firefighter, that means those guys are actually working more hours with, and fatigue is going to set in, and that's where somebody's going to end up losing a life. And I stressed it today. I'm telling you right now, we lose. I basically saying, I stopped at one of the firehouses. I was talking to the union there. I said, we lose a firefighter, the fingers are really going to start pointing upward, and they're going to say, now why did we lose a life here? Okay, so I'm trying to make this situation. Now, when I was at the firehouse for Flagler Beach, and the one lieutenant that was quitting, they gave their notices. What ended up happening, the volunteers were coming in, and they were older than me. Now, I said I'm not a registered firefighter anymore in the state of Florida, and I wouldn't want to go into a burning building at
I
62,
don't know what luck is.
but I may be able to help you pump a fire pump, you know, if need be. I could do that for you. But the thing is, I'm not qualified. So, but the fact that they have these volunteers coming in, much older than me, is not, it's not suitable, okay? It's not suitable
Well,
because.
and if the people of Flagler Beach suddenly find that their insurance wants to charge them more because they don't feel like maybe there's gonna be somebody come on a fire call.
Yeah.
What do you call
There
it?
will
What do you call
be-
911? Yeah.
So the problem we're
Major
gonna,
uprising.
so the problem we're gonna have there, talking about labor,
Yep.
there was a post posted for that lieutenant, okay? Her starting salary was 52, okay? We started, but when I got on, we started at 58 for the city of Allentown. Started for a firefighter. This is the lieutenant, okay? That probably has a minimum of 7 years to be a lieutenant, okay? 52. Now, the problem is if the county takes over, who makes up that difference? Okay, I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. We have, that leaves us
Yeah,
lots to
it's just
discuss
I
and
just wanna
lots to
make a
talk
public
about. We all
announcement.
have things, but we've run out of time. And so bring all these things back next week and we'll do it again. Thank you. Thanks Suncoast Media LLC for turning this into a podcast. Go and listen to the podcast. There's a counter there. Leave a comment and so on. And let's see if we can help make the man in the street, the common man and woman in the street, TC MITS it's called, know a little bit more about what's going on with our county and local government as well, state and national as well. Thank you for being here. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.